Good evening, everyone. Seeing as the time is now 7:02 p.m., we'll call to order the Thursday, February 25th edition of the Norton Select Board meeting. Let the record show that all 5 members are present, as well as town manager units. Welcome, everyone. How are things? It's a special budget edition today, I believe, right, Mike?
It is, but if we could go off track for 1 second, seeing as in this era of COVID where things change day by day, and the governor made an announcement today, the health agent's on, and he can just give an update on that.
I would love to hear it.
All
Welcome,
right.
Chris.
Well, good evening, everybody. I'll share the same screen if you don't mind that we had at our public health webinar today with the state. Everybody see that?
We can.
All right. So I'm sure most of you have heard, but I wanted to kind of take advantage of your platform, if I could, to make sure the word gets out there that as of, well, the governor announced today that as of March 1st, we'll be going back to phase 3, step 2, which I'll get into a little bit further down as to what that means. And then effective March 22nd, if a public health data allows for it, they're looking to go back to, they're looking to move forward to phase 1, step 1, which is interesting because we have not seen phase 4 yet throughout this pandemic. So it's a huge step if we can get to it, and I'm excited for it. So moving along. So back to phase 3, step 2, effective March 1st. It includes indoor performances venues such as concert halls, theaters, other indoor performance spaces. They will be opened up to 50% capacity with 500 person maximum. Indoor recreational activities with greater potential for, sorry, my screen is covered here. Greater potential for contact, which will be laser tag, roller skating, trampolines, obstacle courses, that type of thing. That's going to be open for 50% capacity. This is all as of March 1st, which was Monday. Industry is increasing to 50% capacity effective on March 1st, to also include arcades, other indoor recreation businesses, close contact personal services, which would be massage, tattoo, that type of thing, driving, flight, also personal training, driving and flight schools, fitness centers and health clubs, golf facilities indoors, libraries, operators of lodging, museum, cultural, historic facilities, office spaces, places of worship, sectors not otherwise addressed, and theaters and performance venues, as well as youth sport spectators. What does not count in your 50% capacity is the employees. They are not calculated into the 50%. And then these here, drive-in movie theaters, construction laboratories, and manufacturing have never really had a limit. So again, on March 1st, we're also going to be doing an increase on the restaurants. They will no longer have a percentage on their seat arrangement. It'll be based upon however many tables they could fit in with a 6-foot social distancing still being met. Musical performance allowed in restaurants. That is one I am waiting on some more guidance with, because they didn't put out any guidance in the new, when they changed these requirements today, or they gave these guidance recommendations today, they did not change the website to reflect it. So I emailed the state to find out what type of performances could be done, whether or not it could include singing, what would be the social distance from the stage, and that type of thing. So we're waiting on that guidance. 90-minute time limit, all this stuff is all familiar from what we were dealing with before. No more than 6 people per table, and food courts must remain closed. Fitting rooms, which we don't really have a ton of here. The hopes are is that March 22nd, if all data allows for it, we'll be looking to open up some of the larger venues, and event venues and public settings. We could have a wedding with 100 people indoors, or 150 people outdoors. The private setting, they did not change. They want to remain at 10 and 25. I don't think they trust us. Again, they're going to be looking at, which I'm sure Mr. Kraft is excited about this over in Foxborough, but they are looking to include the indoor and outdoor stadium and arenas, ballparks. They'll be open to a 12% capacity. Large venues are, considered anything 5,000 or more. Mike, do you know what, I can't remember, what's Xfinity Center now? I always want to say Great Woods because I'm older.
I don't know, but I did hear today they will not be opening unless they can go 100%.
Okay, all right.
The sports teams, they have to play anyway, so it's gravy to have a few fans, but Xfinity can't tell a performing group, we can only have 12%, so we're going to pay you 12% of what we usually do.
Right,
So,
right. Okay. And again, before these large venues are able to have this 12% capacity, they're going to be required to submit a safety plan to the DPH. Also, some of the other things looking forward, if we are able to go to that phase 4, is overnight camps will be allowed this summer. Exhibition and convention halls may reopen, subject to gathering limits and event rules. And then dance floors may open at weddings and events only. It's all stuff that, we've missed as our regular things in our lives that we were able to enjoy at one point, and it has been taken away from us for a year. So it's kind of exciting to see these things being talked about again. And here's hoping that our public health data allows for it. So I just wanted to reach out, kind of go over some of the new changes. This is all pretty exciting stuff, and I appreciate you giving me the platform to put it out there to residents and our businesses. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Chris. That's great. Any questions from folks? All right.
Michael, you're muted. Jack, Michael had a question. He's sitting there asking it, but doesn't realize we can't hear him.
no, I wasn't asking a question. I was talking to someone.
No, cool.
Oh.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, may I have a question?
Absolutely.
Chris, is there anything on that list that concerns you as it relates to the town per se?
Not really. We had, back when we did the outdoor seating, we had a lot of great cooperation from our businesses as far as the social distancing of the tables. This is all stuff that they've done already. We were in phase 3, step 2 prior to, I think it was beginning of November when it switched back to phase 1. Step 1 of phase 3. So we've had some practice with that. It should get a little bit more interesting after March 22nd when, we're into phase 4, if we're able to do it. And that's a phase we haven't seen yet. So that one there is something that, I'm going to start looking into now and preparing for. But as far as phase 3, step 2, we've done that already once before, and I think we did a pretty good job with it.
Have you gotten any guidance yet from the state regarding the allowance regarding seating and liquor licenses and all that for outdoor seating and or spacing so that they can almost restaurants can operate like they did last year outside without the loopholes that the state requires, or is that just the town voting on those items?
It's going to essentially be the same as we dealt with last year until that phase 4 opens up and opens up more opportunity. So essentially what we did last year with the outdoor seating, this is including indoor stuff as well. So it's not strictly outdoors. I'm using that as a example because of the way it was dealt with. It was done very well in town is what I'm trying to say with regards to the social distancing of the tables and everything. But the state has put out guidance on their website for these businesses with regards to alcohol sales and how they're going to be able to It's still not allowed. If you don't sell food, you can't open up a bar. You can't, it has to have a food provided. You can't go sit at the bar. You have to be eating a meal and then you can have a drink, if you're sitting at the bar. But you can't just go out drinking one night. It's just not allowed yet, But I think that, slowly, it's just good and it's encouraging to see that they're even considering phase one. I keep saying phase one, phase 4 of step 1. So that's something we have not seen yet, and pretty excited about it. But the big hope now is get people vaccinated. The other big hope is that these new variants don't take over before we can get there. So those are the 2 big things right now.
Any other questions for Chris?
I took some notes of the governor's conference, and we are in the right direction, and we're getting there, and we're almost there, and we got to be vigilant, wearing our mask, and hopefully the variants don't temper the reopening, and hopefully the variants are not as bad as the media hypes them with the variants.
All right. Hope so, Peter. I have a few small questions, Chris. And you may not know because sounds like there's still emerging data. Is the mask order still in effect for when you're out in public? That hasn't changed, correct?
As far as I know, that has not changed.
Okay. And for restaurants, I'm assuming that the updated guidance of as long as you are not eating or drinking while at the table, the mask should be on as well?
Correct.
Okay.
That has not changed.
Okay. And then this question, I think, is probably more for the town manager. Are there any establishments in town that we need to issue a revised license or permit to make sure that they can continue to operate outdoors?
I think right now, the last time we said as long as the governor emergency orders are in place. Now, I would imagine the ABCC will be coming up with some guidelines that after the emergency order is taken off eventually, it would require an amendment to their licenses.
Okay.
And
All right. Yeah, keep an eye on that and try to stay on top of it. I think that would be helpful to help these guys out. I have to imagine that some of them will enjoy having the outdoor space moving forward. So if that's
Right. Help them with the capacity.
For sure.
Thanks, Jack. That was really the question I was asking. I want to make sure that they have, right now people are going to start planning for the spring and the summer. I just want to make sure we're not slowing them down at all.
Yeah, the reason I asked is I know, I think it was McGuire's over in Easton was granted like a permanent patio or something for their establishment. I didn't know if that was something that we would need to do for, I don't know, Mackawall to some stuff, not Patty's place, Kelly's place, and a few others. So, all right.
That's right.
One
What
more
I can
question.
say is, all the departments, we really jumped to the occasion when it was allowed prior, last summer. We were out there working with all those businesses, trying to get them up and running. So anything we can do to help them get up and running, we're going to try to. And, I think at this point, it's going to look similar to last year or last summer.
I think that's an important thing to note is you guys, you, Chris, and your team, you've been partners with the businesses in town. You're not looking to go out there and be punitive and issue things like that. You want people to be knowledgeable and aware of what the requirements are and help people. Like, I think that's such a wonderful tact to take. And it just helps foster a better environment to work in. So kudos to you.
We like to work together. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yep. Okay.
What is the plan for opening? I know town hall is open, but it's by appointment only. Is there any plans on opening, and this is probably for Mike, is there any plans for opening town hall as we go into phase 4-1? Is that the level that you'd think about opening up?
yeah, now that, things are being loosened a little bit, Chris and I will have to sit down And we'll have to go through the town hall and make sure what we're doing as far as 6 foot of separation at each window and look at that opening up.
Okay.
I got a question, when the governor's state of emergency order is lifted soon, will we go back to in-person meetings?
I think that's a great question, Peter. I don't know what's going to be allowed or how folks are going to be comfortable. Speaking purely from a personal standpoint, I think the virtual meetings have been a great way to get a higher level of engagement amongst the general public. You're not tied to being at a specific spot. You can have a meeting on in the background while you're home with your kids. I hope that this pushes municipal meetings into the future. That said, I think there is a good place for in-person meetings. I do miss hanging out with all you guys. So I don't know what the future's gonna look like, but.
I'm good, Jack.
To wait and see.
We just like seeing your cat, Michael, so you're gonna have to bring your cat to town hall.
Fair enough.
Right, pretty soon, we're gonna be here at the town hall meetings pretty soon, right?
That's hopefully.
No.
No,
We can't meet at town hall, so we have to find somewhere else.
The media center.
Media center, perhaps.
Yep.
I think we have several months for that, considering the vaccination implementation.
Yes, I agree.
It's going so well.
Anything else for Chris? All right, I don't see anything. Chris, again, thank you.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I just wanted to trying to get the word out, that's all.
That's all.
Yeah, Chris, you're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, now back to our regularly scheduled program, budgets. Where are we gonna take us on a tour
Budgets.
of our budget?
First, we have the treasurer collector, Catherine Van Dyne. Catherine, in her department, she has 4 staff people, and her personnel services are the contractual increases, and in her expenses, she has slightly reduced her tax title this year. Catherine, you want to go over your budget? Okay,
Sure. Do you have copies of the budget?
I can put it up.
I'll share it. I'm just getting everything pulled up here. This is 141, correct?
There it is.
147.
I have it up.
Okay.
There it is. Yep.
Mike, can you make it bigger?
Okay.
I gave up on trying to look at the screen, Meg.
That's why I printed it this week.
Is that big enough?
Yeah, that's better. Thank you.
But now it's missing the 22 budget though, Mike.
Is it? All
Or
right.
maybe it's my screen that's missing it.
There we go.
Yep, there we go.
So that is Catherine's budget, personnel services, $246,516.28. And charges and expenditures, $53,550, slightly less than last year.
Right.
And the other part of Catherine's budget is tax titles, and that's been reduced by $5,000.
Right.
Any questions on that portion?
What's tax titles? Let me just ask it.
Tax title is when I secure a lien for people who have not paid their taxes, which
Yeah.
actually right now I'm working on the fiscal 2020 taxes. We're still getting a few in, so I'm delaying it just a bit because the numbers fortunately are going down. So what happens is we have to go through a process of advertising, and then I secure the lien so that the town will eventually hopefully get the money or will foreclose. So that's what a lot of the money goes towards, but with COVID last year, I wasn't able to proceed with any kind of foreclosure or really anything. So that's why I don't need as much money going forward, because I'm pretty much going to just play catch up on what I wasn't able to accomplish in fiscal 2021.
And I'm assuming those responsibilities of those individuals, if they didn't pay last year and they don't pay this year, those responsibilities don't go away. So it's going to catch up this year.
Right, but once a taxpayer goes delinquent and I put a lien on the property, each subsequent year I just roll in, so I don't have to do the process over and over.
Okay.
So there are a lot of properties that have been in tax title for many years, so at least it's not costing the town any more money to put those in. So basically it's just the cost of any new ones, and then my legal fees for my attorney who helps me collect some of that money when I'm not able to do it on my own.
I have one probably silly question, Catherine. Under uniform and clothing allowance, there's a $70 line item that just jumped out at me.
Yeah, that is a new item for one of the unions. So one of my staff members in their union has allowed that. I think it's for a jacket or something like that. So that's why that's new this year.
Okay.
Yeah, the majority of my budget, which is the purchases of services, which is basically payroll and collection, so mailing out the bills. My lockbox facility is a big chunk of that. And then the rest of it's just normal office supplies. And my office supplies does include all of the not postage, but envelopes for mailing, vendor checks, and all of that. So a lot of my budget is really for the whole town, not just for me.
Gotcha.
And as far as the payroll, there are 4 of us in the office. My office is very busy. And we're trying to bring the salaries up a little bit because my staff works extremely hard, especially during COVID. We were there every day working. And they really deserve more than we're able to give them, but at least we're working on getting those salaries up a little bit higher. It's hard to get people for an example, my front clerk girl, she is now going to the water department because she can make a lot more money at the water department. So now I'm going to have to advertise for that position. So it's going to put a strain on my office there's going to be 3 of us doing the work of 4 people for probably a while.
Any other questions for Catherine?
Has that job been posted yet? Has Janice's job been posted yet?
It's been posted internally and you have to wait so many days and then we'll be able to advertise it outside. So we'll try to get the word out so maybe we can fill it sooner than later. Because excise bills went out. When you send out 17,000 plus bills, the phone does tend to ring off the hook.
Yeah.
I can
We
imagine.
called you. We're one of those. Sorry.
Whoa, Renee.
I know.
And I'm assuming the salary increases were all contractual. I mean, obviously, there's only one that's non-contractual, yours. I'm assuming everything else is the increases were basically from contractual.
Yes. And I do also have a contract.
Oh, your personal contract. I apologize.
Nope, not a problem.
And the next section of Catherine's budget is the debt.
Yes.
Actually, before I move on, Mike, can I just ask one question? Catherine, is there anything that's not on this budget that if you had, I mean, money's tight, yada, 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 we know that. What's on here, what's not on here that you'd say that would change our job, it would help the town, so on and so forth?
I would love a ceiling and a door.
Let's not get crazy, Catherine.
If we bought you some tape, like Les Nessman, and just kind of taped
Well,
things, would that work or no?
I don't know if anyone has ever actually been in my office or Lucia's office. Think about being in a gymnasium. You know how noisy it is when you're in a gymnasium? Well, that's what it's like in my office, especially where I sit and where Lucia and Brooke sit. It's just this big echo chamber, and Jean, my assistant, she's kind of in the middle, and some days you can't even hear yourself think. It is really distracting. So that would be my wish list. If we don't get a new town hall, it would be great if I could get a ceiling.
You'll have,
I don't even know how to respond to this.
I'll have to send you pictures of the outlet in the hallway. The cleaning people must have plugged in a vacuum one night and it flamed out. So there's black all over the wall by the outlet. And to prevent anyone from using it, they put a piece of Scotch tape over it.
So besides an office, there's nothing else that you, in your head, that's on top of mind to say, the town really needs this, or my department really needs that, or anything, Kevin?
No, I think my department runs really smoothly. In spite of the obstacles that we deal with on a daily basis, so.
Right.
I wrote down the ceiling and a door, just so you know.
Thank you, Renee, I appreciate that.
Just so you know, I did not. I'm gonna leave this to hopefully what we get what we voted on for the approval of the new town hall.
Yeah.
When she asked for the door, I'm going to show my age again. It reminded me of the show WKRP in Cincinnati. And the newsman, Les Nessman, had an imaginary door on his imaginary cubicle. And you have to open the imaginary door to come in to talk to him. So I think I'll chip in personally and buy that imaginary door for her.
There you go.
You know, they say if you believe it hard enough, it's true.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I actually have a louver that Bob Kimball made for me many years ago, so I can put that up occasionally.
Hey Denise, could you mute I think it's yours that's coming off that sound.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
The next item is debt. Catherine?
Yep, oh, and you've got the updated number and I didn't, there it is, now I do, okay. So this is just the normal expenditures for the long-term debt, the principal and the interest payments. The only amount that is estimated is, of course, on the short term, which is interest on notes, which is the last figure there, the $20,460. That's just an estimate of what might be borrowed coming in fiscal 22, because we just don't know yet. But the maturing principal on the long-term debt and the maturing interest on the long-term debt, those are fixed costs.
It looks like those are reducing by about $50,000 this year.
Yes, as we pay down the debt, those numbers will continue to go down, but as we add more debt, those numbers will then go up. So I would say, at least in fiscal 23, I would say they'll probably go up.
Okay. Right, any questions on the debt section?
I'm going to just put my greenness out there. Is there any chance you might be, Catherine, could you just give me an elevator spiel on what I'm looking at here per se? I mean, I understand debt and all that. We've got obviously the high school and all that good stuff.
Right. So what I could,
debt burden.
right, what I could send to you, which is not on there, is the detail of all those numbers. It's this little sheet. I can send that, I can email that to you, which breaks down what's the school, what's the town, what's the water, because on here is not any of the water and sewer debt, but that will be on my other schedule. The water and sewer department, they will give you their debt when they present their budget.
That would be helpful, just so I can kind of get a sense. This is the first time I'm really looking at this, so.
And it's a lot. So, but if you have questions as you look at it, you can reach out.
So this question's probably to both you and Mike. Is there anything on here as we're going into adding on to this that concerns you right now?
No, we've been pretty fiscally responsible as far as our borrowing.
Okay.
That's the one thing I hate to do. I hate to borrow. I hate debt. but it's a big part of my job, so.
Keeps us moving.
You and James that deal with bond ratings and all that good stuff?
Yes.
I'm sorry if I missed this, do we have these broken out in the packet? Like all of our debt? Because this obviously isn't just one.
No, that's what I'll send you. I have a spreadsheet that breaks it out.
Okay.
This is just the totals. When we present the budget, we always just give the total broken down by long-term and short-term debt.
Thank you.
Sure.
I may,
And I apologize if that was asked. I was having some audio problems.
It's okay.
Kathy, I may quote you for some of the info sessions for the new buildings, that when you were asked what your unlimited wish would be for your budget, it was a ceiling and a door. I don't think we're aiming too high for that.
We might be, Jack, we'll see.
That's a sad indictment of the state of affairs at town hall.
Well,
Yes.
the bad news is, Catherine, if you get a ceiling, we're taking away that bucket that's catching the water right now.
Yeah, you lose that bucket.
Yes.
The next part of Catherine's budget is employee benefits. The first section there where it says contributory, that's our cost for the Bristol County pension system. Then you have the health insurances, and then the Medicare.
So Mike, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
We're in a group, I'm assuming we're in a town group with several towns regarding health insurance, is that correct?
We're in the Southeastern Mass Health Group.
Okay.
And
Is
we've
it
got,
up?
the last 2 years, our rates have been good. We only anticipate them going up 2% this coming year. So that is good. Catherine has to carry extra in the health insurance account because she doesn't know if someone that doesn't have any children is all of a sudden gonna have children and go to the family plan, or if people, if there's gonna be new employees that are on a family plan that replace someone that was on a single plan and things like that, so.
Is it up to, does the county health insurance, do they do the audits, the family audits, or is there any kind of audit mechanism in place? So we're seeing if people have multiple insurance, they're just picking and choosing, or is there any of that going on here?
Yeah, periodically, we are required to do an audit of everyone. Catherine, when was the last one? Was it last year or the year before?
No, it was a few years ago, and they're actually going to be doing one coming up soon. We did not discuss that at our group meeting today, but I know that is coming up.
And rough math, right? It's about 16, if just basically assuming this with 500 people total taking advantage, about $16,000 a year per person. So, right, give or take, if we just assuming everyone's on it, which we know isn't the truth.
Well, right. Well, the family plan costs $19,000 a year, and the individual plan costs $7,000 a year, and that's the town's cost.
All right, so average it out. Okay.
Yeah. And then there's a few people on the higher one, but I just gave you the numbers for the HMOs, which is the majority of the population.
Do we have an option to leave the group? I mean, I'm not saying that we should, but do we have the option to leave the Bristol County group?
We can, yes.
Have we, and I understand people, time and efforts are short here, and we don't have an HR person. Have we looked at cost benefit? I mean, 19,000 is crazy for a family plan. I'm doing it from a private sector.
No, that's 19,000 a year. That's not
19,000 a year.
Yeah.
But we're averaging, see, if we just take the 500 people that we have working in town, divide it by the 8.3 million, that's $16,000 per individual.
Yeah, but remember, it's not just town employees or school employees, it's also the retirees. So you can never really come up with a firm number. Like, for instance, if 6 teachers retire in June, they're gonna most likely stay on the health insurance. And then they're gonna hire new people and then they're gonna come on. So it's not like you can say it's 500 people and it just is always varied. Let's see, on this report, there are, let me see here, I got a calculator, 297. For instance, there's 368 retirees on a Medicare supplement plan as well. That's included in that $8 million figure.
Okay. And do current retirees, people that are working for us now, I mean, I know that we had obligations, we had contracts and all that, do all retirees still currently, like if you were to retire tomorrow from the town, do you have access to the healthcare in town?
Yes.
At the same rates you have?
Correct. And then once you reach the age of 65, you have to go on Medicare, and then you are eligible to stay on with a supplement plan, which is a lot cheaper than the HMO.
So realistically, that it's not 500, it's 800 people into the 8.3 million, give or take.
Right, because if I look at my estimates of how I came up with my calculation, it's based on 847 plans, whether that is a retiree plan or an active plan. And when we say active plan, we mean either the HMO or the PPO. So if you're under 65 and you're retired, you have to stay on one of the active plans.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Yes.
This is James Coelho, the town accountant.
Hey, James, what do you know?
In fiscal year 20, we spent $7,363,000 in health insurance costs, and about 2.2 million was retirees.
2.2.
So that gives you an idea of how much of that is made out of retirees. So the 8.377 that's being requested, probably 2.5 is going to be towards retirees, around that around that amount.
Yep.
Boy, single payer looks great. I think that's all I have. That's a big number.
Yep.
It is.
All right. Anything else for Kathy? Well, it was wonderful. Thank you very much for taking the time and presenting.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry, I was
Mr.
asking.
Chairman, can I just ask Mike Units one thing? Mike, is this something that's negotiated, or is this a state benefit? Is this, where does this fall? I'm just trying to get my sense of, in the future, as we look at this, is this something, as we negotiate contracts in the future, so on and so forth, is this?
We have a public employee committee, and the health insurance is negotiated through there now. And as far as the retirees, once you work for 10 years in Massachusetts, you're vested for the health insurance. That's set by the state. So, everything obviously is negotiable at some point.
Why did I think health insurance was taken out of collective bargaining underneath Patrick?
It was taken out of collective bargaining. That's why we have a public employee committee.
Okay.
We negotiate with them. When we did the plan that we have right now with the deductibles, before we didn't have deductibles on our health insurance. So we use section 2123, whatever, which allows, what you do is you let the selectmen voted to go with that. So instead of negotiating with each union, and then you don't get to change the health insurance until every union agrees on it, it was just a matter of coming up with a plan that was as good as or better than the GIC. And so with that, the selectman could just say to the employees, here it is.
Instead of everyone adopting it.
Either that or we go to the GIC.
Okay. I mean, am I wrong? That's like all the services that everyone's complaining about in town, of missing and lacking, school fees, busing, trash, everything is right there. It's almost, in $2 million, it's almost $2 million.
Yeah.
Is that, yeah. Okay, thank you.
It's expensive.
Another thing I wanted to say about that is that's the main reason why OPEB exists now, the Post-Employment Benefit Trust that we had to set up, and we fund every year, hoping to build up that fund so that in the future the fund will have enough money to help subsidize the general fund with the cost of the health insurance for retirees. And that's why they're mandating it across the whole United States. They're kind of treating it like pension because it is a benefit that's guaranteed and offered to all the employees. So just wanted to say that.
Do they pay taxes on that too? I'm assuming. No, healthcare's not taxable. Sorry.
Thank you, James. Anything else on Kathy's budget? Seeing none, we will go over to the assessor's office.
All right, in the assessor's office, there's 3 staff people. And their salary line item this year is $181,492. A bulk of that increase is incentives that are in the contract now. And their expenses are up $6,000. One of the main reasons for that, and I know that the assessor will talk about that, is their mapping program. Looking to do an upgrade this year on the mapping program because they can't isolate condominium developments like Red Mill Village, for example. You can't isolate a separate parcel, and they're working on doing that. I know that's one of the expenses, but I'm sure Denise can tell you more about that.
Sure. So with the mapping, like Mike said, when you go on there, when you go onto the GIS, you only see the parcels. And what I want to do is get the buildings on the parcels along with all the condos. So when you click on a condo, you're actually going to have that account. Right now, when you go onto it, you have the entire complex and you can't click on any individual person, which is running into an issue for us. So then we have to do it from our end and then email everybody. So that's one of the upgrades that I want to do to it.
Is this kind of feeding into what you explained last year that you were doing and going through individually to collect information, to populate the data?
Yeah, so every year I'm constantly looking at it to see how we can make the GIS better. I get a monthly report from them, monthly, and we have more and more users on there every month that are going on to use it. So I think it's a great benefit to our office and to the residents and to anybody else that's out there that's using it. So we're always trying to upgrade it. We're upgrading with a lot of zoning, with the zoning maps. I'm trying to get the water department on there with hydrants at some point, all different things.
That would be nice.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so much you can do with the GIS, and hopefully at some point we'll be there, but it's going to take a couple of years or more, slowly get there.
And is that because we don't have the features through the application now, or we just don't have the resources to do it?
Yeah, we just don't have the budget to do it. I mean, the resources are there. We can do anything we want with it. It's just the funding for it.
Would this be something that we would be able to get maybe some interns from Wheaton or high
So
school?
no, it's done through the company itself.
Okay.
What I do is I'll have to get, so for instance, like say the fire hydrants, I would have to get that information from the water department. And then what we do is we send it off to, it's called MapGeo is the company, and then they'll upload everything onto their site. Zoning maps, we'll get those and then we'll send them to them and they'll upload everything.
And is it true they only do uploads like twice a year?
Correct. We update the mapping once a year.
Okay.
So it's all connected, like our tax maps and the GIS are all connected. So as we're updating like all the plot plans every year, we're getting those on the tax maps, but we're also getting it on the GIS. So because we want everything to be the same, obviously.
Right, thank you.
We could do it more than once a year, but the cost would be a lot.
Sure.
And your department has three people?
We have two full-time and one part-time.
That includes yourself, correct?
Correct, yep.
And the Board of Assessors, there's 3. And the Board of Assessors is the only board that is required to be certified. Correct, Denise?
That's correct, yes. For each, I think I explained this last year, that the state has a requirement for assessors. It's a course, it has 8 modules. And before the Board of Assessors can sign off on anything, they have to take that test. They have to take those modules and pass it. And that's free from the state, so anybody can take that. And it basically goes over everything that is done in our office.
Do you currently have a full board, Denise?
Currently have a full board, yes.
Okay. Any other questions on Denise on the assessors?
My favorite question, Jack, besides the maps that you already shared, Denise, is there anything that you'd say, this is what I would like to see to do with the assessor's office, but it's just cost prohibitive, or where do you see, is there anything that we can do to make the town more profitable or make your job easier or yada, yada?
The one thing I would love to do is have my part-time person be full-time. We're coming into the spring where my other full-time person, my assistant, and I will be out on the road doing inspections. So we'll have to have somebody in the office. And if she's not there, then we can't go out. So, or one of us can only go out. So that would be great if at some point down the road we could get her full-time.
I have a silly question. Are you guys able to use like Google Maps, Google Earth?
So
to help find
we
things that maybe haven't been forthcoming?
absolutely. So the town approved pictometry. It's called Eagle Loop Pictometry, where we did the flyover. So we did one flyover in the spring. I wasn't happy with it, so they did it again for me in November. And what they do is they fly over the town and they take about 3 or 4 pictures of each individual parcel. So during the pandemic, what I did is for all the exterior building permits, I could pull them up. Luckily, because we did the flyover in that time period. So I could pick up like all the decks and additions and things like that. So yes, I do use that.
Okay.
And then flyover will be for another 3 years.
I remember talking about that, and I thought that we specifically asked for information about privacy issues before we went forward with that.
I don't think so. There's really no privacy.
I don't think to you. I think Mike, that was our conversation with you, and I don't ever remember seeing that.
I think we discussed it at the meeting, but I wouldn't think there's any privacy issues because we're not getting down low where we could see into people's houses. It's kind of like a Google map. We're up high. They're just flying over. And everybody in the state is starting to use it.
That doesn't mean it's necessarily right, or there aren't any issues with it, right? Especially if you have kids in the backyard or something else going on that.
I think they block all that out because when we get onto it, you cannot see, there's nobody there. So I think somehow they take all the people out of there. You'll never find, when I'm looking at it, that there's any people in the photos. They do have that capability of taking them out.
So there must be some sort of privacy language in it. Is that something that we can track down, and can that be shared with the board?
I can see if I can find it, sure.
Thank you.
Anything else for Denise? All right, thank you so much, Denise, appreciate it.
All right, thanks, have a good night, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Denise.
All right, who's up next?
Next is, let me share my
Alright.
screen. Accounting.
Man, take us away.
And in accounting, we have 2 full-time staff and 1 part-time staff. And James has minimal expenses in his department. They're slightly lower than was budgeted for the previous year. And James, do you want to, and also the audit, the annual audit is part of James's budget.
Well, I haven't spent much this year, and depending on what happens with the pandemic, who knows about next year. My biggest expense is seminars and conferences, and as you can see, I haven't gone to a single one this year. The same goes to mileage reimbursement. I haven't gone to any conference or any seminar, so that's hasn't been used. I am budgeting the same amount for next year due to the fact that I'm hoping that things will go back to normal and I'll be able to go to the educational seminars and conferences. This year, they're going to do it virtual, and there's going to be a small fee. So I should be able to return most of that budget back to the general fund for fiscal year 21. My salaries expenses are slight increase in salaries over last year, and they're pretty much in line with what everybody else is doing. I think it's a 4% increase on the budget. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll try to answer them.
Thank you, James. I'll open it up to questions.
James, does the school do their own audit, or do you do the audit for the school as well?
The company we use does the audit for them too. And the 26,000 includes the school. They do have to pay an additional 5,000 for the end of the year report that has to be filed with the state. The auditors have to review that also. And there's a separate charge that's paid directly by the school.
26,000 for $60 million budget audit seems very low.
It is a good deal.
Yeah. Okay. James, is there anything that you, as you're looking in the future of your department, or anything that you would say isn't on this budget, but you'd want to see it on there?
You know, it's basically the same thing I've been saying over the years, and Denise just said of her department too, is possibly making the part-time position a full-time position in the future. The bills keep coming in, the job keeps getting bigger, the budget keeps growing, there's more responsibilities, more work, and it would be nice to have someone there full-time to be able to back up my assistant and myself in getting the job done, as far as paying the bills, reviewing everything, and making sure everything is the way it should be. So basically, adding more hours would be the one thing I would like.
Okay. James, I'm assuming you're the one that has the master of all these budgets. I'm assuming accounting, does accounting have the master spreadsheet budget?
I do have the master, and also the Michelle, the assistant to the town manager. Awesome.
you know, like I said, I don't want to get myself in trouble, but sometimes it's easier just to see percentage increases and so forth. Is it possible to get you know, I'm not sure what tabs, if you have a spreadsheet for a worksheet for each of these, or if it's full workbook, or what it is.
There is a condensed version of the whole budget by department.
Okay.
In numerical sequence. We can add a column. The problem we're running into is that as we add columns, the print keeps getting smaller and smaller. So people are complaining on to what they want to see, but I can do it and just send it to whoever wants it. Just add a percentage.
Is there, I know there's probably a lot of meat on that. Is there any way that the select board, because I know finance committee is asking this, is there any way that there's a top level where they can kind of, or are you guys afraid that it's going to confuse too many issues out there, or too many versions out there? It's going to confuse the issue.
We've been using this spreadsheet for quite a while, and if we change it, it may confuse some people, but I'm open to change if you think it will be better and if everybody agrees. Just tell me how you want it and we'll make it work.
Jack, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, what's your feeling on all this?
Yeah, I think, James, last year you had provided me with an Excel version. Whatever you had sent out before, I think would be helpful. Just allows us to compare line by line, and if we want to see different things, we can manipulate it. So if you'd be able to send that back out to the full board, I think I would appreciate that.
Would it be better to wait until the town manager makes his recommendations, and that way we're looking at that column instead of the department requests?
How far away are we, Mike, from you putting your recommendations in?
I'm waiting. I received the school budget March 12th. So once I get that, then I'll have to start making the cuts.
Yeah.
So Mike, can you give me, I'm sorry, Jack.
I was gonna say, I'd like to take a look at it sooner rather than later, James. So, and I can update my formulas later on.
Sounds good. I'll send it over.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead, Mike.
Mike, how do you take you're gonna take these recommendations, right, or these requests, and then you're just gonna use the cherry sheets and what your just knowledge of just in the past, and then you're gonna give your recommendations and do cuts and so forth. And am I missing? I'm trying to get an understanding of how what the next step after this for you is.
So what we do is we look at what the governor's cherry sheet number was. Then we work through what we anticipate for receipts, for our local receipts. And so we know how much money we have to work with, and then we have to work to balance the budget to make sure it fits within that number. So we can go from there.
Okay. And in the fiscal year coming up, school was flat funded, correct? The state request said that education would be flat funded, or no?
Actually, no. The governor, in his proposal, there was an increase in both unrestricted general government aid and Chapter 70.
Okay. And was there any word on Chapter 90?
I know we already have our Chapter 90 number. We got it last week, or the beginning of this week.
Thank you, James.
I just wanted to say, James and his staff have been in throughout this COVID crisis. Mary Ann was always working hard and handles the accounts payable for the entire town. So, with the normal accounts payable, then plus all the CARES funds and FEMA funds. So she's been doing double time this year, and I appreciate it.
I'm assuming you guys work very closely with Matt Wells on the school side.
We do, yeah. But James's office processes all the bills.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Any other questions for James before we jump to conservation? All right, James, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, James.
We're doing conservation or inspections? I forgot about inspections. Oh, Mike got muted.
Okay.
Still muted. I don't think you
I
realize.
don't know if it's a verb or an adverb.
Maybe we should do the request to unmute.
I could use this at work sometime.
Mike, I'm gonna hit the button in case you can't find it.
I think he's working in his Adobe thing. He's making us wait. So it looks like we are on to conservation, 171.
I don't know if Jennifer's on. I know Jennifer was on, and I know Jennifer had a meeting. So are you on, Jennifer?
Yeah.
Okay. She had to leave to go to a meeting, so I'll just go over her budget, and then if you have questions, I'll get them to her. So Jennifer, on her expense of budget, the professional services line item, that's for the dam. The engineers have to go out and inspect the dam each year and file a report with dam safety. So that's the professional services section of her budget. And under maintenance/conservation areas, there's a slight increase in that of a little over $2,000, and that's mainly because of Camp Edith Reed.
Say it again, Mike. I apologize about camp.
So if you look at her maintenance/conservation areas, it increases from a request last year of $11,089 to $13,346 this year because of maintenance at Camp Edith Reed.
So Mike, this one seems pretty big increase.
Yeah, I haven't reviewed the salaries yet.
Yeah.
So, that's the department request line items.
Yeah.
Is it one full-time and one part-time?
I know, actually 2 full-time now. In October of 19, the part-time was made full-time.
Okay.
So for FY 20, it was a part-time person.
Right now, it's looking like a 9.6% increase for overall, which seems untenable given everything that we know about the upcoming year.
Yeah, I haven't reviewed those yet. I made my recommendations, so.
All right. Obviously, I think the salary bucket jumps out on this one, so I'll be curious to see after you do your review.
Yep, I'll let you know.
That line went up 12% this year. So I'll be curious to know how much of that is contractually awarded.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other questions on that?
Not on my end. Anybody else?
I'm not going to ask my standard question because.
If I could.
No, Mike, if you have something.
I know the answer.
Okay. So the question obviously is.
So now the part-time person is a full-time person. So the answer would be another part-time person to go along with the full-time and full-time. I know Jen told me that today.
Mike, I guess that's one of the questions. We don't have to answer it right now, but it seems obviously that we heard that's a reoccurring theme in almost every department's budget that we've talked to in town. And how do you balance it, right? How do you balance is there a need or not a need? How have we done it in the past? How do you evaluate it?
Yeah, you look at the workload and then you look at it, is it a workload that is just because of a 1 or 2 year surge? Or is it a workload that is increasing, is always going to be there? And obviously then you look at what we have on an ongoing basis that we figure we can sustain in our budget year after year.
All right, I don't think there's any other questions on conservation at this point.
All right, let me try and get inspection up here. I lost it. I gotta find it again.
Mike, what's headcount compared to pre-2008 now?
That's a good question. I would have to look back. I'm not sure what the
Yeah,
headcount.
don't have to answer right now.
Yeah.
I'm curious that.
Yep, I'll look at that. And while I'm looking for this, is Nick on?
I saw him earlier.
And if anyone has it and they can get it up quicker than me, I got it. Just rotate it. All right. Whoops. All right. In the inspection department, we have the full-time building commissioner. We have a full-time clerk position. We have a part-time electrical wiring inspector, and we also have 2 part-time plumbing and gas inspectors. And at your next meeting, I'll be bringing forward finally appointment of our part-time inspector to fill the role that Nick Iafredi used to have before he became the commissioner. And the budget, the salaries are lower than the previous year. And the expenses, a slight increase from $21,595 to $22,026. And Nick, are you on? Okay. So so the main reason for the lower number for the salaries, obviously, is that we have a new building commissioner who is in at a lower salary than the previous building commissioner. And also right now, the gas and plumbing inspectors and the wiring inspector, they're paid by inspection. So I think Nick reviewed what he anticipates for a number of inspections for the year and adjusted that number.
Hey, Mike?
Yeah.
With that part-time appointment, will that change, that second line item, or?
No,
Okay. So it's already baked in? To the 204?
yeah, if you look on this sheet, he has the vacant position there. I'll have to make sure. Yeah, he has the salary in there.
Mike, let me ask you a question. I might be looking at this wrong way, and Brad, you can slap me around when I ask the dumb question, which I usually do. Is this department is a revenue driving department, correct?
Definitely, yep.
Okay. Where is the revenue that we pull in versus? Hold on, God's calling. I'm gonna answer this. He's just gotta.
Who's calling?
This cat.
I mean, where does the expenses versus the revenue that the town pulls in from this? Is it percentage, even if it's just by percentage, just from my knowledge base?
Well, let's see, you figure the entire budget's 227,000, and I don't remember, I don't have it with me, what we planned on for revenue this year in inspections, but it's usually 600,000 to 700,000.
Okay. Do you guys look at, when you look at the expenses, do you look at that ratio? Like, is there a magic number that expenses should not be offsetting revenue coming in from?
Well, you know, actually, Nick and I were having a conversation last week about that. We want to make sure that the inspection cost covers the service, at least, right? So obviously you want to bring in revenue, but at the very least, when a inspector, because Nick was looking at, you know, say you just do an addition on your house. Well, the inspector's got to go out at least twice. They have to go out and do a rough inspection. They have to go out and do a final inspection. And we were saying, you know, we're only charging $50. We're saying, well, that doesn't even cover the cost. So we're looking at those fees again.
Right, it's 90 cents. I would imagine it's $90 for them to get, for an inspector to that. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Obviously, where you bring in the big money are the large buildings, because the fee is based on a square foot calculation.
Outside inspector coverage, I noticed that's bumped up pretty, well, it's kind of weird. It was high, low, high again.
Yeah, that is, yeah, I'll have to speak with Nick when I'm reviewing his budget on that and see. I mean, it's the same as last year, so.
And is conservation similar to that, Mike? Is conservation, I know it's probably not as revenue driver as this department is, but is conservation a revenue driving department as well?
It is, and we do, when you look at the revenue projections and when we do our budget and you see expenditures and revenue, there's a line item there. We asked for 5, I think we're getting 3 from their fund that they have, conservation.
Okay.
And the wetland fees.
Okay.
Mike, has Nick been formally appointed to the building inspector, or is he still like interim or acting? I forget the terminology that we used.
I know, I don't want provisional.
Provisional, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, any other questions?
I know one thing I've noticed with Nick, and I know you were talking about it earlier, is Nick does a great job with the attitude that we're here to help.
Mm.
And, and if someone's violating, obviously, a building code, it's not like a need to attack them. It's just a need to say, hey, look, it's the code. I have to enforce it. And this is what you have to do. I think he's got a good attitude. It's been good.
That's great to hear. I think that's a very important quality to have in this industry. You know, at the end of the day, we are a service-based provider for
Right.
our customers are the townspeople and businesses here. So making sure that we have a good, productive attitude to create those partnerships, so mutually beneficial, is that's good to hear.
Jack, to that point, Nick's been what, 4 months, 5 months now, I think it has been on there, give or take, 3 months, 4 months.
Somewhere about there, I think.
Yeah, and usually you hear of complaints. You won't necessarily hear compliments, but I haven't heard any complaints, which is typically goes a long way.
I did get a compliment about Nick this morning. We had
That's great.
reach out about the Plain Street solar project starting earlier than their allowed time. Nick responded like right on top of it and was out there, and the resident that reached out was extremely complimentary towards that professional attitude. So here we go.
So Mike, did Nick's not on, right? We said Nick wasn't on, right?
I don't see him. Nope.
Okay. Did he mention to you on, money wasn't an issue? What would you like to see? Is there any technology or anything? I know you guys are moving to e-permitting and all that stuff. Is there anything?
Yeah, I didn't ask him that because he was going to be on tonight, but I'll ask him that. I know Nick is very happy, and all the departments are, with the online permitting. And it was just ironic that we had started that right at the right time when it comes to COVID. We would have had, it would have been a lot of trouble for us if we didn't have online permitting during this, because we would have had to switch to it. And I can only imagine how many towns were switching to it at the same time. Mm-hmm. So it really has helped out. And now, planning, conservation, building, fire, the town clerk, and soon all our permits will be on there too. So it's really been a help. And I do talk to inspectors, I'm not inspectors, but contractors who love it. It's just so much easier for them, because normally they have to come in right first thing in the morning and get their paperwork done and then go back out on their job site. Or they plan on coming in and, they run into a hassle on a job site and they'd have to, but now they can just do it right from the job site, file anything they have to file. It's been good.
Right.
All right. Anything else for inspections, which I believe is the last line for the night?
It is. Good job, Jack. Last week wasn't like this.
You know what, Mike? We're talking tomorrow, not recorded.
I was gonna say, well, we still have 3 hours to fill, so I was gonna suggest we each think of our favorite Shakespearean sonnets and bring a little culture to our meetings.
Hey, Jack, before you jump into the item number 2, can I just read a announcement that I was asked to pass on?
I suppose that would be allowable. Yeah.
Okay. Just condolences of Herb Church, a 94-year-old veteran active in the American Legion for 70 years, was active in a veterans community for many years, was buried today at the Common Cemetery. So I just wanted to, just mention that. And this was a message, obviously, from Estelle. And obviously the town lost a great patriot today. Also, COVID vaccines this Saturday, February 27th at the Plymouth American Legion, 10 to 1 If you were a veteran, you just need to be 55 years or older. It's a first come, first served, must be enrolled in the VA Health program. If you are interested to enroll in the VA Health program, 877-222-8387. And last but not least, the VFW Saint Patrick's Day grab and go dinner from 12 until 2. And they're $10 each. We'll get you more details next week on that.
Thank you, Michael. Anybody else have announcements to share? Thank you for recognizing Mr. Church's passing. I can't say that I knew him, but I did have the good fortune to meet him at some of the Memorial Day events. He's always a fixture there, and definite sad to hear of his passing. So.
He was a great guy. He was a good guy, and he sure loved this town just like me, and hoping that we have parades soon.
Very good. Thank you, Peter.
Yep.
All right. Budget being done, we do have one other item on the agenda for this evening, which is a discussion and/or vote on special legislation for all alcohol package store licenses. So it's a Mike or an EDC thing. And I know, Michael, you probably need to recuse yourself from this, right?
I'm going to recuse myself, Chuck.
Okay.
Can I just bump him?
Oh, is that Renee?
Can I just bump him from the meeting?
Yeah, I can't stop you. All right.
Yeah.
But you won't see the cat when it eventually comes across it. All right. Who wants to educate us on this topic?
All right. I'm not on mute, right?
No, not at this point.
I'm trying to find, I did some maps, but I'm trying to find them right now. But anyways, the EDC took this matter up, and as part of this legislation, we would have to establish zones. And the EDC came up with 3 different areas that they were looking at. One was east of 495 on East Main Street to the Eastern Line. Another area was 140 from 123 heading towards Taunton. And the third was from North and South Worcester Street heading down West Main to the Attleboro line. And so they wanted to let the board know that those were the 3 areas they identified, and the decision would be up to the board which 2 areas that they wanted to pick. And Renee can probably speak on it also from the EDC's perspective.
I'm trying to find the email that you sent to with the images, because I think it would help the board. So like Mike said, we voted to support the additional 2 licenses, but as he indicated, we wanted, because there were 3 potential areas that need to be identified as part of the special legislation, or there are 2 potential areas that need to be identified as part of the special legislation. We decided on 3, and then left it to the board to determine what the actual 2 were for the for the licensing. But he had, I'm going to find it here. I know I have it. Mike had put together those. Here, Mike, I have it. I'm going to just email back to you. Yeah, I'm on a different computer, so if you don't mind, I'll just email back.
All right.
And it'll be up at the top. But it shows the 3 areas, and it's funny because until I saw these maps, I kind of had an idea of where I thought it would be. But these, oops, no, I'm using the wrong keyboard. But these maps, I think, really help to say where would it be best positioned in the town. Okay, so that's coming through Mike to share. I know we've talked about this a couple times. You know, again, this would be, as Mike indicated from our last discussion, this would add 2 licenses regardless of any changes to the number of licenses that we would have directly impacted by an increase in our population. So just something to consider there. They are specific to areas within the town. So our discussion, and I don't know if we talked about this last time, but initially, one of the areas that was presented was on 140, like from Xfinity Center down, and there are multiple liquor stores there. So that was one that we didn't feel needed to be included within this special legislation because I think we have enough saturation in that area. Did you get it, Mike?
Yep.
Okay.
So this would be the East Main Street.
Which is exit 10, so the bottom right is like the Condine area, right?
Right, this would be 495 right here. And Leonard Street would be right here. So this is all industrial. This is commercial, and this is industrial.
So where would Red Mill Village be in that? Would that be somewhere tucked behind?
Red Mill would be right in around here.
Okay.
This is White Street, right where the road bends here. White Street would be here.
Okay.
White Ave.
Red Mill's half commercial and half residential, Jack. It's really weird that it was zoned that way.
I've
This
noticed
area.
that. Okay.
So that was one. Want me to go on to another?
Sure. And to actually, before we go off of this page, is there still a liquor store at the entrance to that, was it the Nason Memorial Building there? Where Pizza Time and Purple Bus Karate is?
Yes.
Okay.
That stop something?
I'm not, yeah, I don't know if they're all alcohol or just beer and wine, I think.
Okay.
I believe they're beer and wine from what was presented previously, and I've been in there.
Okay.
We find the other one.
Did some research?
Right.
Okay.
All right, let me.
And then a little birdie tells me that it is in fact Quick Stop. They serve beer and wine. They don't serve, they sell beer and wine. Sorry.
All right, I brought the same one up again. All right. Let me get,
Mike, scroll down. I think that it's there. It might just not have a header on it.
Okay, yeah.
It's weird the way the files are, because this is down on 123.
Right, so right up here would be North and South Worcester. And then this would be down to the Attleboro line, so it's obviously almost all commercial heading down there. And there is a store right here on the corner of North Worcester.
Yep.
Nothing else down in this whole area.
Can I say, like, these maps are barely maps at all? Like, this,
Stop.
these are like Picasso paintings.
It is. You can see a vague like impression of the parcel numbers behind it. See, I can share the map geo if you want to see it.
No, you guys being able to explain it is great, but just looking at it on the screen, it's very abstract.
Yeah, Jack, I got to tell you, I spent months looking at this for the marijuana overlay, and when I first opened this file, I'm like, what is this? Like, I couldn't figure it out either.
Okay.
It's weird. I think it's just the layers missing, and on the save, it kind of just took some of it away.
Yep, no problem.
And then the last one, Mike, should be on the next page.
Yep.
For the 140.
That there used to be a liquor store down on Old Colony, near Fisherman's 3. Did that one closed, right, and the license transferred?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, they sold their liquor license too, and I can't remember.
Was that the one that went to the gas station, Speedway?
Yes, yep, that's it.
Okay.
On this one, I'll zoom in later, but 140 is kind of a different area because down here on the,
Maybe start, Mike, can you start maybe where the center of town is, where
Sure.
140 and 123 is?
yeah,
It's kind of hard to tell if you don't
So-
know.
this would be village commercial or village core in this area. And then further down, there is a commercial section in between Barrow Street, starting at Barrows and Clap right here. I hate when it does that. Start at the top is right in this area is Barrows and Clap. And then there's that industrial area down at the town line. So it's kind of a broken up stretch.
Does the EDC, or did the EDC have a recommendation for which two zones to, that they would support?
We would support all three.
Okay.
So I can tell you, like I mentioned in the beginning, when I saw this particular one, when he drew the lines out on it, like I thought that there was more of an opportunity on this stretch here in 140, and there's really not.
Right.
So I don't know if it for a retailer, if it would be advantageous to go here versus going where you have full commercial on, you know, the west part of 123, and then the commercial and industrial build that's happening on the other side, you know, and then the potential for even additional property from MassDOT to be rezoned to industrial as well across from, across or adjacent to Leonard Street. I don't know how you would define that.
That would be this area right here. Is it on the warrant to be rezoned industrial?
And
Would it help, Jack, if we switch to like the map geo view?
no,
The board?
I think I have a pretty good grasp on where things are. Brad or Meg, please feel free to speak up if you'd like to see that.
No, I have a general idea of where everything is.
Yeah.
It would be nice to get maps for.
I got a little bit of Meg's voice. Did anyone catch her?
No, I think she said earlier she was having some internet issues. Yeah, I think before this goes any further for communication purposes, I think we should have better,
Right. Yeah.
so people can see street names and landmarks.
Okay, give me 1 second. Let me pull it up, Jack.
While Renee's doing that, what's the, how do people feel if we get to pick two? Where would your two be? To be or not to be? That is the question. I told you I was going to get some.
That's the question.
He's going to drag this meeting out as long as possible.
Oh,
Okay, I'll speak. The fact that personally, I'm against petitioning for two. And I'll be totally frank, it has to do with the way it was done previously with the last time special legislation was handled for a license. And I don't want to speak negatively about Michael, but where he's involved, in possibly looking at this, in the last time special legislation was used in the town to increase liquor licenses, and involved family also got a license, and it left a bad taste in many people's mouths. The fact that people who are connected are able to get these licenses without paying for them like other people, and so I'm against the whole idea.
So, just so I can understand better, you said you're against 2.
Yeah, I mean, I can see the argument where we're trying to attract a new business to town. It's a larger business that's going to occupy part of the new building down on 123 East Main Street. And if that's going to attract a larger company to town and increase taxes, it's just that, unfortunately, and like I say, I don't want to, I can't explain my feeling without bad-mouthing Michael, which I don't really want to do. But to me, when we're doing something like this, where it may have a positive effect for a sitting member of the board or someone involved in town government, it leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. And that's my problem with it.
And Brad, I think that's totally understandable. I mean, if you were, actually, I don't know if maybe it didn't come to this board, maybe it came to the EDC first, but we were approached by a different company to go into the Condyne space, and that was quite some time ago. I mean, Mike, I would almost say maybe it's been a year, right?
It has been. It was an attorney from Sharon who had contacted me about this, and it was too late for the town meeting last year.
And I can tell you, I'll share, one of the biggest comments I think that was shared across the EDC in this is we don't have like a high-end liquor store, right? And that was one of the things, like everybody said, we go somewhere else, right? Like Wines and More, up somewhere in Mansfield, like we just don't have it here. And so to bring something that we don't have, unique to the town, was certainly advantageous. And then again, to Brad's point, right, it's another business. It's essentially more revenue. And that, I see it as the Condyne property there right now, the storefront for retail was only for 3 different businesses, right? And that's the one that's going to drive people in there and potentially also drive people to the McDonald's and the pizza shop and those things. So I mean, I look at it more as, I think it's in a good location. I think that we would pull from other towns, people who are traveling on 495 heading to the Cape. That one particularly is a sweet spot for me. I think the other one is good too, because there's a lot of commercial on the other side of town. And I think, I think it deserves kind of like a refresh, right? Like say there are some businesses down on the other side of 123 that certainly could use a store that's going to draw people in. So, but Brad, I totally understand. I totally understand your opinion.
I don't disagree with Ed. I just said, for someone connected to be interested in this, it leaves a bad taste in people's mouths. It makes it look like if you're connected, you can get something that other people can't. That's all I'm saying. And I might be more open to it well, first of all, I'd be more open if I didn't know someone on the board was interested in pursuing this, and that there was going to be some kind of an open competition for this additional license. It's just that I'm concerned about how it appears.
I agree with Brad how it appears, and I also want to say, like, again,
I'm the first one to say, I do go to the other towns for my wine, because there's crappy stores in our town, but we're in the middle of everything that's going on, and the other businesses that we need to attract to our town. To me, to reach out to the state legislator at this juncture for more liquor licenses when, again, I'm gonna go back to, we still don't have a grocery store. Like, I feel like there's other things that we need to be focusing our attention on, and maybe we could get a high-end grocery store that would have, a Wegmans that has a whole liquor area. I just think the timing is bad, and I agree with Brad wholeheartedly that it doesn't send a good message to our town about insider information. So that's where I feel right now.
But I have to, Jack, if you don't mind, I'd like to comment on that because, we're a small town. And if we have people who are interested in businesses, I mean, we're fortunate to have people who are involved in local government and giving their time to it. And while I understand the appearance, like, there's nothing here. I mean, particularly in this case, he has recused himself, spoken to town council, like, we're following the laws as they're established, and appearance is appearance. I mean, and Meg, I get you on the grocery stores and attracting other businesses. I got to tell you though, the EDC, we've done a lot of work, we've had a lot of conversations. There's not a grocery store that wants to come to this town because the numbers just aren't there. Right. So, I mean, we can sit and wait for certain businesses that we want, or when, people come to Mike and say, hey, do you have opportunities for this? We can figure out how do we make these opportunities. It's about what we want to do. And we can certainly turn it down and not have that, as an additional option. But, it's unfortunate too, that we all go to a different town to do it and not supporting within our town. And I'll say for less options versus crappy stores.
So I think I have a lot of the same concerns that Brad and Meg do with the perception around this. I mean, my goal in getting involved in the Board of Selectmen and now Select Board was to try to create that sense of trust and openness. Not to say that this can't be done in an open manner. I'm not familiar with the process. So Mike, can you share if these licenses get approved, how do they then get allocated? And does this need to go to town meeting, or is it purely we request the special legislation and it goes on? So I think depending on the answer would have a big impact on how I feel.
Town meeting would authorize you to file legislation. Then you would have to work on the legislation. And once it's approved, then anyone that wants a license would come to the Board of Selectmen, and you would have to choose who you want to give those licenses to. And I will say, I know the problem you have right now, but if I check back, I would say that this whole thing was initiated by the attorney from Sharon first. So I don't know who his client is. He never told me that, but it was initiated by him first. So that's why I brought it up originally.
Yep. No, I understand that. My feeling is if this was something that we could put to town meeting, and if Michael could make a public declaration before the vote informing people of his interests, I think I would feel different. The fact that happens and then it comes back to us, I agree with Brad. It creates a very awkward and kind of ugly situation no matter which way it goes. And I feel bad saying that because Michael is a resident of this town, and this is something that would impact his livelihood directly. But I agree, it just feels odd to me.
Mr. Chairman,
Zach, yes.
can I comment on this? Just a little bit of different perspective.
Sure.
One argument that hasn't been made here is you have small business owners in this town, whether it's the Michelle's Corner Market or, the various small liquor stores in town. And I don't know much about this project, but what you're saying is you want to put a mega, Wines and More in here someplace. Maybe we should ask them what the effect of them is. You're going to basically, create an Amazon.com effect where you'll drive these people out of business. If you put one of these mega stores, there's not enough, just like you saw with the Roach Brothers, there's not enough volume. There's not enough people in this town. Now you're going to put a mega liquor store in town and drive the 4 or 5 small guys out? I mean,
Zach,
nobody here arguing for them, but,
Zach, let me clarify. I used Wines and More as an example.
I'm just saying
That
in
is not what
general.
this legislation does. This legislation just allows for an all alcohol store, right? And
I
it
get
was,
that, but you got 20,000 people here, and you have, I don't know what it is, 5, 6 liquor stores. I don't know. I don't even know what the number is. But I'm saying you're just creating more competition for them, businesses that have already been hurting because of the pandemic, particularly and everything else. So you may get 2 more liquor stores, whatever size they may be, but you may drive somebody out in the process. That's all. I'm just arguing for the small business guy that's trying to make a living in town. That's all. Different perspective should be thought out.
well, and this could also be a small business guy.
I agree, but there's only so much money to go around, and when you spread it out, if it's 5 now, you spread it out 7 ways, people aren't gonna drink more because there's another package. It's just gonna get taken out of one person's pocket and put in another. I mean, that's what you're doing. And if I own those stores, I'd be on this call screaming and yelling, but, I'm just, as a business person myself, that's, that would be my concern.
Thank you, Zach. Brad?
Thank
go ahead.
you.
Right. Well, it's just that I want to point out the fact that the other owners of those liquor stores have paid a dear price to get those licenses when they bought because I'm sure they didn't buy the funds they paid for was not for the inventory and the name of the place. It was to get a liquor license.
So are you saying these are free, that the same value isn't assessed on these licenses?
Correct.
Yeah, I do recall that when the license for the one over on Old Colony was changed, it was a 6-figure sum that was involved in the transfer.
Yes.
But they do command a premium.
Right. They pay dearly for a liquor license because they're limited. And by taking that limit away, you're devaluing what these people have paid for, and you're also cutting their opportunity to make back what they paid for the license.
Well, don't we still have one liquor license that hasn't been resold too?
We do. Wine and malt. Beer and wine.
Pinehurst, right? The Roach Brothers.
Yeah.
So we have no all alcohol left, but we do have one wine and malt. When do we need to make a final decision on this? Because I know it's coming up for a town meeting. We got to lock things in.
You can put it off tonight, and I'll try and see if I can get some more information for you. What I'll do is for you to try and help you. I'll check my emails and see when I first talked with Sharon, the attorney from Sharon, and see if that helps you at all. And any other information you think between now and next meeting, let me know what you'd like me to get for you.
Yeah, I think I would have more time to consider this fully. I find myself very, very conflicted at this point between promoting potentially another small business who just happens to be associated with the select board and the appearance of favoritism that could come through. So if everyone is okay with that, if we can defer this vote for a future meeting.
Okay.
Jack, I'm certainly fine with deferring it, but I think, you know, while it's a valid point, we have to view this as two separate and distinct things, right? Like one is, you can't assume in the end that this is approved and somebody who has, you know, recused himself and voiced interest is one of the applicants. Now, granted, that can happen, but we should be making the decision whether, based on the merits of, should we approve two or even one additional special legislation licenses in this town, and what impact does it have on us?
Yep.
Right, aside from who the potential applicants can be.
Yep.
Because for all we know, we can have five, if we approve this, we can have 5 different people come up and say, hey, you know, we're interested in this.
You know, I think that's, you know, obviously a very, very fair point.
Personally speaking, I'd be more willing to think about a single license if it was to promote the property on East Main Street being developed and bringing in a new business. But originally it started out with 2, and then we had talked about maybe it was going to be 1, and we were going to hope for the fact that the census was going to come back, that we'd be able to get an additional one through that. And I just have a problem with the fact that a person connected is showing an interest in, which is the same way it happened previously.
Well, we can't undo what's happened in the past, but I think if we're upfront and honest about it, and Mike, maybe you should talk to about the fact, we had this discussion before about why it was in the best interest to pursue 2 special legislation licenses versus 1.
Yeah, I will contact Senator Feeney on that, because talking with his office, that was their perception. They didn't want it to be just 1, because they said the legislature had the perception you're just trying to help 1 person. Whereas if you have 2, it opens it up to more people. But I'll ask them that again, but that was the logic, I think.
And if I can, just to really highlight, you know, Michael has been extremely upfront and forthcoming about his potential interest in this. He has done everything by the book to be fully proper as has gone through that. So I know we've all taken gone to great lengths to make sure that that was clear, but explicitly, you know, Michael has been perfect for as perfect as he can for promoting this, and just an unfortunate piece of local politics, I suppose.
And again, I don't think it should have any bearing on our decision, that they should be 2 separate and distinct conversations.
And I think
as far as I know right now, Blue Star does not have a letter of intent with anybody at that location.
Yeah, and perhaps we're looking too far afield, because I think you're right, Renee. I think it's probably 2 issues. One is the approving the licenses, and then the second piece is who those licenses go to. That second part would definitely be a more complicated and conflicting process to go through, but it starts with this one. So
hey, Jack, before we end on this topic, because I'm going to extend this meeting as long as possible, can I have the Map Geo site up? I didn't want to flip to it while we were having discussion. Can I just flip to it quickly to show folks on the map, just so for further consideration, you have a better idea of what we're talking about, the areas?
Please do. Yep. Just go really, really slowly, because we still have 2.5 hours to film.
Oh, I can drag this out. Give me a couple of technical issues too. We'll make it happen. Okay. Let me just put the zoning on so it's a little easier to see. Well, it's somewhat easier to see. It takes away.
It's prettier.
Yeah. Well, it's, you know, again, it's the, I'm trying to find the parcel. If you can get the parcels on, it helps a little bit. It's still not showing. I'm just gonna keep clicking all these and see if any of them help, but they're not helping. The marijuana overlay would probably help more. Let me take the zoning off for a second so we can see where we are. And this, and this. Okay. So the first one that we talked about was the Blue Star Condyne, so exit 10. I'll just zoom in here. Right, and it's bike indicated Leonard Street. So this is the new development here, the Mass DOT site. And then Jack, to your earlier question, when you drive up, I'm going to put the zoning on now so you can see. This is, this section here is Red Mill. But these are the areas, the industrial zone and then the commercial zone. On the other side of 123, I think it's a little easier seeing this. All right, we're talking about from the edge of town up here. So I'll just turn that on just so you can see where the zoning is. I actually need to zoom out a little bit. I zoomed out too much. But again, 123, so it's the zoning is would allow for this across the entire area. And then the 140 is the spotty one. So here's kind of like town center, the post office, Wheaton, and then heading down, it's like Mike's Pizza. There's some other commercial things here. And then as Mike said, 140 comes down, it's kind of odd. It would pick back up in this industrial section if we selected 140 as part of that. So you have 123 west, 123 east, and then 140 here. Okay. And as I mentioned, the part that the EDC did not want to support was having supporting any more in this section because we have multiple liquor stores along this area. So hopefully that clarifies just a little bit to see it from the town perspective.
Thank you, Renee. Appreciate that. And the ones on that other stretch of 140, there's we have Produce Barn, obviously, and then there's another beer and
there's Norton Liquors, there's
Bass Gas.
Bass Gas.
Bass Gas, Not Liquors, and the Produce Barn.
Mm-hmm.
And we got some liquor, and we got the quick stop on 123 on East Main Street, and we got Michelle's, so we got a total of 6, but back in the days, there was Dion's Package Store, and back in the day, there was a Reservoir Package Store, and there was Diane's Package Store on South Washington Street.
Mass Gas isn't all alcohol though, right? Isn't it just beer and wine?
It is.
yeah. All right. So I think I prefer to table this for future meeting to vote on, just to resolve it.
What is that date, Mike, for, I don't have my calendar.
I don't either. So town meeting is it the
8th or 18th?
No, it's the 8th is
15th?
May 8th. It's May 8th.
So
It's on the warrant now, right? The annual town meeting warrant?
yeah.
So we have to pull it off by
14 days before that, so.
That would be April 24th.
What, Meg, do you know what day that is of the week?
Saturday. It's my birthday.
Is it? My birthday's the day after yours.
Let me write that down.
Taurus. Love it.
Jack, remember those dates.
All right, we'll write them down. All right.
So we'd have to, if we have a meeting, I'm actually out of town the Thursday of that week, but we would have to either hit that week or the week before.
Yeah, I would prefer not to let this linger out that much longer. I think within the next 1 to 2 weeks, if we can bring this to a close and just establish a direction. To Zach's point, I don't know if we can reach out to some of the current liquor license holders and get their perspective on this. I suspect that Zach's insights are correct, that they would not be overly supportive of having their market share diluted, but
The other thing, just a thought, as I get more information for you, say we had the one area on 123. And I don't know whether this would work or not, but say the guy that has the liquor sales there right now on East Main by the Dunkin' Donuts, say he wanted a wholesale, all alcohol. I don't know whether two across the street from each other could support, whether that would be sustainable or not.
Well, I think, Mike, that wouldn't happen, right? Because we would designate two specific areas. So one potentially on one side of 123, one potentially on the other side of 123. So he would be able to apply.
Now, yeah, he would be able to apply. I was just saying, would you consider two in the one area? I don't know if that even works. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, and I was thinking, I think the advantage is in both of those areas on even the 140, right? We don't have an all alcohol store in any of those areas. They're primarily on the other side of, they're in the cluster. So that's, another advantage of distributing that across the town.
Great. I'll get you what information I can.
Thank you, guys. I think that's a good discussion. Let's close this out next time. When is our next meeting, Mike? Is that
Next Thursday.
next Thursday? Okay. Is there any other business to come before the board this evening? Seeing none, Chair would entertain a motion to close or alternatively thing for 2.5 hours.
Oh, it's for 2.5 hours.
There you go.
So moved.
I move that we adjourn.
All right, Brad moved that we adjourn, and I heard Mike second, so I guess no one gets to hear me saying for 2.5 hours. Let's do the roll. Meg?
Yes.
Michael?
Michael, you're muted.
Aye.
What is it with the name?
Brad?
Yes.
Renee?
Yes.
I too vote yes. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful night and stay safe out there. Enjoy
Even though we're adjourned, can we stay on for 2.5 hours and listen?
Yeah, Charlene can.
Go ahead.
You can.
Let's party. Let's go.
Mike, you want to have our meeting now instead of tomorrow morning at 9:04 p.m.?
No, I gotta watch the Bruins come back.
Yeah, guys.
Good night, guys. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.